The truth doesn't go anywhere just because you cover it up.
I don't like you, but I love you.
Hillsong is a megachurch, and Carl Lentz is the celebrity pastor.
Carl is so charming.
People idolized him.
There is a sense that pastors can be hot.
He was so special.
It was cool.
Carl was this mega superstar, and then he just disappeared.
I cannot stress it enough.
You really got a hold on me.
I had some major lies.
He said, I have been unfaithful.
You really got a hold on me.
Carl was fired by Hillsong leader Brian Houston, but there was something larger happening at this church.
People were putting things together. Brian's unraveling was bound to happen.
They were protecting something. What are they protecting?
Brian's pushing people to the limit.
Hillsong culture is loyalty to Hillsong.
There was a series of violent criminal acts against children.
Did you cover up your father's sex abuse?
They had meetings about not telling anyone.
It's child abuse, labor abuse, sexual assault.
We are fearful of what is ahead.
I've never seen anything like this.
This is a church we're talking about.
Well guys, Hillsong is one of the most popular, influential churches in the world by far, with a massive following and reputation for putting on incredible worship experiences. I mean, it's no wonder that so many people are drawn to Hillsong, including me. I mean, Hillsong was basically the reason where I dedicated my life to Christ again. But Hillsong is headline news, guys, and for the totally wrong reasons. On the 19th of May, a 4-part documentary aired exposing Hillsong to its rotting core. And this came as a shock to millions of Christians, now finding out that the leadership of Hillsong is rotten to the core. This is a shock not only to me, but to everyone that found Hillsong as salvation. Now, to make things worse, Geoff Bullock, that was one of the founding pioneers of Hillsong, he left back in 1995, and he has basically kept his mouth shut for decades. And recently had an interview where he just spilled the beans that made this rotting core even more rotten. And you can check the clip after this. It's just sad. You know, the misconduct and the non-disclosure agreements all the pastors had to sign, that basically state that they can't open another church for a year after they resign, and they can't speak of anything that's actually going on at Hillsong. Hillsong definitely lost its track, where its focus was more on the institution itself than really God and spreading the word and the gospel. And I think this is the biggest Achilles heel for all these mega churches. It's basically institutions that prints money. Don't have to pay taxes. It's a non-profit organization, and I think Hillsong made like 90 million a year or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's a big corporation or a big institution to run, but where's all this money going? Same with all the other mega churches. They've got such a big responsibility, and with great power comes great responsibility, as you know, and they just dropping the ball in my eyes, totally forgetting why they're there, doing all of these things that they're actually preaching every Sunday for you not to do, they doing behind closed doors, from corruption, adultery, sexual misconduct, all of these stuff that it's too many to name. I don't even know what's going on in the other mega churches, and I don't want to, create something that there's not, but money is the root to all evil. If money itself can't do anything, but the person in charge of money can destroy or create. And this mega church, Hillsong, they totally destroyed what they've built over the years. And it's such a disappointment, I think, to everyone. And that's the main reason I left the mega church. I felt that money came first and Jesus came last in my eyes. Check out the video of Geoff Bullock and share your comments. I would love to hear what you think about this entire dilemma. Alright guys, till next time.
I can speak clearly about my experiences without feeling like I'm doing something wrong. And it's quite liberating to me, to tell you the truth.
You and I have been talking for 3 years. It seems like you've moved on, but there is still this part of you that is still stuck in this thing with Hillsong.
Well, yes, of course, yes, because, I do have a story from those days, and the more that has progressed, the more I feel that I have a responsibility to speak. There are a multitude of hurting people that I think I have to start the story.
So you came up with the name Hillsong?
Yes, I did. Brian and I were floating around in my swimming pool, and I said to Brian, I just said, let's call the music team Hillsong. And he said, why? And I said, well, it's not as goofy as Hill's Christian Life Centre, is it? But for me, I couldn't stay in it anymore because where my faith was going, I wasn't comfortable with my faith and the culture of the church, so I left. I suppose it's why I'm not a Christian anymore. Brian wrote a letter to the worship pastors of all the Assemblies of God churches in Australia, telling them not to sing any of my new songs. They declared war on me. I met in the early 2000s with one of their elders, a man called Nabi Saleh, and he looked at me in the eyes and he said, Geoff, you do know we tried to destroy you. And I said back to him, Nabi, why? Now, I don't remember his exact words, but it was something along the lines of, well, we thought you were going to try and destroy us.
When you see Hillsong Church today, what do you see?
Well, I certainly don't see what we started. And this is hard to say because it's going to be hard for people listening to hear these words. I don't see a lot of Jesus. It's sort of like the message has become the church. The message should be the members, but the message has become the institution.
An institution, Bullock says, with a license to print money. Indeed, financial records show the church, exempt from paying income taxes, made nearly $90 million in 2020 from the Australian churches alone.
Where does the money go?
I mean, it's a big institution. I mean, the real estate, their audio-visual production facilities are first class. But what worries me is they've got a license to print money, but what they say is you're giving to God. Well, you're giving to God, and then God gets to the pastors, and it seems like, I suppose you could say, they're profiteering from it.
In late March, the pastor of Hillsong Phoenix, Terry Christ, told his congregation that Hillsong leaders gave him this ultimatum.
It came down in recent weeks to the demand that we sign non-disclosure agreements and non-competes, meaning that if we were removed from our positions, we could not plant churches again within our community for at least 1 year.
Why is a church asking its members to sign non-disclosure agreements?
Because the church is more important than its members. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, here is a church that's a worldwide phenomenon. Why do they get people to sign non-disclosure agreements? Because they're scared?
Today, Brian Houston is facing criminal charges for concealing his father's sexual abuse of children.
You certainly knew that that very serious allegations had been made against your father?
Yes, I did.
Brian Houston categorically denies knowing any claims of sexual abuse by his father before 1999, but Bullock says that Houston knew of allegations about his father years earlier.
Frank performed rituals with him to try and cure him of his homosexual leanings. This was deviant behavior, but unfortunately the story was known about in the early 90s by a few senior members of what was then the Assemblies of God. And I know that because I knew about it. Senior pastors in the AOG in New South Wales knew about it as well. Can I tell you how hard that is to say? And it really does make me shake. And so there you go, there's the truth.